The message from my mother said, "Catherine, due to the ice storm, everyone is remaining at home and Christmas dinner has been called off. Please be safe." As I looked at my phone, I felt let down but comprehended the situation, knowing that Nashville's winter weather could indeed be hazardous. Little did I realize that this seemingly innocent message would expose decades of family lies and transform my existence completely. I go by Catherine and I'm 32 years old. I work as an accountant, and before this past Christmas, I believed I was simply the outsider in my family, the reserved, career-driven sister who never quite belonged among their boisterous social events. My younger sibling, Anna, had always been the favorite, the golden child who could never disappoint our parents. On that Christmas morning, I prepared for a solitary day at home. I prepared hot chocolate for myself, put on some festive films, and attempted to remain upbeat despite feeling isolated. Around 3 p.m, while browsing Instagram, my world came crashing down. Right, there was a recent upload from my cousin Nina, amazing family Christmas celebration at Anna's place, feeling grateful to have everyone here together. Family customs, Christmas feast. The image displayed my complete family, parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, even my grandmother, all gathered around Anna's sophisticated dinner table. Everyone was beaming, dressed in holiday attire, obviously having a wonderful time at the celebration from which they had purposely excluded me. Looking through the windows visible in their pictures, I observed bright, clear weather. No ice storm existed, and there never had been one. My hands trembled as I scrolled through additional photos. There was my father slicing the turkey, my mother organizing her famous Christmas treats, my young nieces and nephews unwrapping gifts. The ice storm story was entirely fabricated, a convenient falsehood to avoid admitting I wasn't wanted at their ideal family celebration. Nausea overwhelmed me as the reality became clear. All those occasions they'd informed me events were canceled, all those private gatherings I hadn't received invitations to, how many had actually taken place without my presence? For how long had they been scheming behind my back to leave me out while pretending to show concern? The following morning, my phone rang with my mother calling, behaving as though nothing unusual had occurred. "Hello, sweetheart. I hope you enjoyed a peaceful Christmas. We certainly missed having you there." The casual cruelty in her words made my hands ball into fists. This moment would mark the beginning of everything changing, though I was unaware of it at the time. During my childhood in our family household, I consistently attempted to be the ideal daughter. I assisted my mother with household tasks, earned perfect grades throughout school, and even abandoned my aspiration of attending art college to study accounting because my parents demanded it was more sensible. Meanwhile, Anna had complete freedom to do whatever she pleased. When she quit college to become a yoga instructor, my parents praised her courage. When I worked extra hours to help them pay off their home loan, they hardly recognized my efforts. I recall one specific event that should have made me see the truth earlier. 3 years back, when my father required surgery, I took 3 weeks away from work to help with his care. I prepared meals, cleaned house, transported him to medical appointments, and handled his prescriptions. Anna visited once, stayed 60 minutes taking social media photos with him, then departed claiming she had a yoga retreat to attend. Yet somehow, when my parents recounted that period, Anna became the devoted daughter while I was merely doing the minimum required. My extended family behaved no better. At every gathering, my aunts would compliment Anna's adventurous nature while questioning when I would relax and start enjoying life. My professional achievements were dismissed as dull while Anna's most recent escapade, teaching yoga in Bali, dominated every family dinner conversation. I continued telling myself it was unimportant, that family remained family, and they cared for me in their unique way. Even last month, I spent countless hours assisting my mother with Thanksgiving preparations, only to hear her credit Anna with all the work while claiming I merely sat idle. I suppressed my feelings and remained silent as I always did. When Anna declared she would host Christmas this year, I volunteered to assist with planning and cooking. She dismissed me, stating she wanted everything to be flawless. I should have recognized the warning signs then, but I was still desperately trying to believe in the illusion of our happy family. The reality is I've spent my whole life attempting to gain their acceptance, creating justifications for their conduct, and pretending not to notice when they left me out of impromptu family gatherings that somehow everyone else learned about. I convinced myself that with greater effort, longer hours, and more giving, they would eventually consider me worthy of inclusion in their perfect family portrait. Hello, sweetheart. I hope you enjoyed a peaceful Christmas. We certainly missed having you there. My mother's artificial cheerfulness made me feel sick. I tightened my grip on the phone while staring at the Instagram photos still displayed on my laptop, proof of their perfect family gathering that had deliberately excluded me. Is that so? I managed to maintain a steady voice. Because Nina's social media posts reveal everyone had a wonderful celebration at Anna's house. Everyone except me. The silence that followed was overwhelming. I could practically visualize my mother's expression, that familiar look when she's been caught lying but is already crafting explanations. Oh, well, she stammered. Anna arranged it at the last minute, and you know how you behave at gatherings, always so withdrawn and making everyone feel awkward. We simply thought. Thought what? I pressed. That it would be acceptable to lie to me? To force me to spend Christmas in isolation while pretending everyone else was doing likewise. Don't be so melodramatic, my mother sighed. We were attempting to prevent any discomfort. You understand how Anna wanted everything to be flawless. That's when the realization struck me. All the previously canceled events, the times when plans had mysteriously collapsed, the family photographs I discover later on social media, this wasn't an isolated incident. This was an established pattern. How many occasions? I asked, my voice barely audible. How many other gatherings have you deceived me about? Another revealing silence followed then. Catherine, you're being overly sensitive. This is precisely why. Why what? I interrupted. Why you exclude me. Why you act as if I'm invisible unless you need something. Why Anna gets to be the perfect daughter while I'm treated like a burden. That's unfair, my mother objected. We love you both the same. It's simply that Anna makes an effort to participate in family activities. You're constantly busy with work. I laughed with bitterness. Busy with work? You mean busy helping pay your mortgage? Busy caring for Dad following his surgery? That sort of busy. Listen, my mother's tone became harsh. If you're going to behave this way, perhaps it's best if we take some time apart. Contact me when you're prepared to be reasonable. The call ended. I sat there staring at my phone as 32 years of memories suddenly realigned into sharp, painful clarity. Every excuse, every dismissal, every misunderstanding, it had all been deliberate. I wasn't the problem. I never had been. That was the moment I ceased making excuses for them, the moment I finally understood the truth. I didn't possess a family. I had people who shared my genetics but treated me like an afterthought. Following that phone conversation, something within me broke. I was finished being the family scapegoat. I opened my laptop and began composing an email to my entire family, parents, sister, aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone who had attended that Christmas dinner. My fingers raced across the keyboard as years of suppressed emotions flowed out. I've observed the photographs from Christmas dinner, I wrote. The dinner I was informed was canceled due to a fictional ice storm. I want all of you to understand exactly what your actions accomplished. You didn't simply exclude me from a family gathering. You orchestrated an elaborate deception to make me spend Christmas alone. I included screenshots of my mom's stay home, everyone's doing the same, text messages alongside the social media photos documenting their celebration. I clicked send before I could reconsider. The responses began pouring in almost immediately. My Aunt Marie claimed they had forgotten to inform me the plans had changed. Uncle Robert suggested I was overreacting. My cousin Nina, whose post had revealed their lie, quickly removed all the Christmas photos and sent me a message claiming I was creating unnecessary conflict. Then Anna's response arrived, a lengthy, patronizing email about how I never participate at family events and how she simply wanted one perfect holiday. She even had the nerve to suggest that excluding me was for my benefit because I obviously don't enjoy family gatherings. But my parents' reaction truly revealed their character. Instead of apologizing, they became aggressive. My mother began contacting mutual family friends, creating a narrative about how I was experiencing some kind of breakdown. My father sent me a stern email about respecting family privacy and how exposing our problems was unacceptable. You've really caused trouble now, Anna texted me. Mom's in tears. Everyone's disturbed. And it's all because you couldn't simply accept that perhaps you're the issue. This is exactly why we didn't want you at Christmas. I felt as though I was living in an alternate universe. They had deliberately excluded and deceived me, yet somehow I was the antagonist for revealing their behavior. The more I defended myself, the more they distorted the story. When I refused to surrender and apologize, they intensified their attacks. My mother began appearing at my workplace without warning, creating disturbances in the lobby. Anna started posting ambiguous social media updates about toxic individuals and choosing peace over family. My father threatened to remove me from his will if I didn't comply. Rather than intimidating me, their actions only reinforced what I had finally understood. This wasn't a loving family protecting itself from a difficult member. This was a toxic system desperately attempting to maintain control over someone who had finally stopped following their rules. I decided then that I needed to do more than simply expose their lies. I needed to completely escape their manipulation. Little did they realize I was already developing a plan that would demonstrate exactly what happens when you reject the one person who had always supported them. A week following my confrontational email, I received an unexpected message from Rachel, a former family friend who had previously managed my parents' finances before retiring years ago. "Catherine, I've been observing what's occurring with your family on social media. There's something you must know. Can we meet?" I agreed to meet her at a quiet coffee shop downtown. When I arrived, Rachel appeared anxious, clutching a manila envelope. "I've been carrying the burden of this knowledge for years," she said, sliding the envelope across the table. "Your father made me promise secrecy, but after witnessing how they're treating you now, I cannot remain silent any longer." Inside the envelope were bank records and legal documents spanning 15 years. As I examined them, my hands began trembling. According to these records, my grandfather had established a substantial inheritance specifically for my education and future, nearly $300,000. Money I had never known existed. "Your father served as the trustee," Rachel explained quietly. "He was supposed to provide you access when you reached 25. Instead, he transferred everything to Anna's accounts, using it to support her lifestyle and her failed business ventures." The revelation struck me like a physical blow. All those years I had worked overtime to pay for my accounting degree, the student loans I was still repaying, the times I had helped them with their mortgage, they had been sitting on my inheritance the entire time, spending it on Anna. "There's additional information," Rachel continued. "Your grandfather also left properties that were intended to be divided equally between you and Anna. Your parents sold them all using your power of attorney they had you sign when you turned 18. Remember when they claimed it was for emergency medical decisions?" I felt nauseated. The document I had trustingly signed had given them complete control over my financial interests. They had systematically stolen my inheritance while watching me struggle, accepting my assistance with their expenses, and making me feel guilty for not contributing enough to the family. Even worse, the statements revealed regular transfers to Anna labeled as business investments, money taken from my inheritance to fund her yoga studios, her retreats in Bali, all those adventures they had praised her for while criticizing my boring accounting career. "Why inform me now?" I asked Rachel, my voice barely steady. "Because I observed your mother's social media posts portraying you as unstable and ungrateful. They're attempting to discredit you before you can discover the truth. They've been embezzling from you for years, Catherine. What they've done isn't merely morally wrong, it's illegal." Everything suddenly made horrible sense. Their escalating attempts to paint me as unreasonable, the threats to remove me from the will when they had already stolen my inheritance, their desperate need to maintain the narrative that Anna was the successful sister while I was the difficult one. I carefully placed the documents back into the envelope, my mind racing. "Thank you, Rachel. I know exactly what I need to do now." This wasn't just about a ruined Christmas anymore. This was about years of calculated deception and theft. And I, an accountant with years of experience tracking financial fraud, was uniquely qualified to make them face the consequences. With Rachel's documents in hand, I spent the following week meticulously constructing my case. As an accountant, I knew exactly how to follow the money trail. Every unauthorized transfer, every misused power of attorney, every fraudulent document. I tracked it all. I also hired Sarah Chun, a lawyer specializing in estate fraud, to review everything. "This is a clear case of financial exploitation," Sarah confirmed. "We can file criminal charges if you want to pursue that route." I considered my options carefully. A criminal case would destroy my family's reputation, but they had already destroyed our relationship. Still, I decided to give them one final opportunity to make things right. I emailed my parents and Anna requesting a family meeting to resolve our differences. They eagerly accepted, probably thinking they could manipulate me back into submission. We agreed to meet at my apartment the following Saturday. The morning of the meeting, I arranged 3 folders on my dining table, one for each of them. Inside each folder was a complete record of their fraud, along with a letter from my lawyer outlining their options. Either transfer all remaining funds back to me and sign a confession, or face criminal charges. They arrived looking smug, clearly expecting me to apologize. My mother began immediately. "Catherine, we're so pleased you've come to your senses." I interrupted her by sliding the folders across the table. "Before anyone speaks another word, I suggest you examine these." The color left my father's face as he scanned the documents. Anna's hands began shaking. My mother attempted to maintain control. "This is absurd. You're trying to blackmail your own family." "Blackmail?" I laughed coldly. "No, I'm offering you a choice. Return my inheritance with interest and admit what you did, or I'll let the police handle it." Rachel's already agreed to testify. Rachel had no authority. My father began. "You had no authority." I interrupted. "You stole from me for years while watching me struggle. You used my power of attorney to sell property that was rightfully mine. You funded Anna's lifestyle with my inheritance." Anna burst into tears. "I didn't know. They told me the money was from their savings." "Don't lie," I replied calmly. "The transfers went directly to your accounts. You knew exactly what you were doing." My mother tried a different approach. "Think about what this will do to the family. What will people say? You should have considered that before stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from your own daughter," I responded. "You have 48 hours to decide. Either sign the confession and arrange the transfers, or I'm going to the police." They left in panic, my father practically dragging my hysterical mother and sister out the door. Within hours, the family group chat exploded with messages from relatives all taking their side, of course. But I remained calm. I had truth and evidence on my side. "The ball's in their court now," I told Sarah over the phone that evening. But something tells me they're not going to make the right choice. I was ready for whatever came next. After all, they had already given me the greatest gift, freedom from their manipulation. The 48-hour deadline passed just as I expected. My family chose pride over honesty. They didn't sign the confession or arrange any transfers. Instead, they attempted to destroy evidence, closing accounts, shredding documents, and even trying to pressure Rachel into retracting her statement. What they didn't realize was that I had already submitted everything to the authorities. The morning after the deadline expired, I formally filed charges. By afternoon, the police were at their doors with search warrants. I watched from my office as the story developed. My father was escorted from his workplace in handcuffs. Anna's yoga studio was seized as an asset purchased with stolen funds. My mother's carefully maintained social media facade collapsed as she was arrested during one of her charity committee meetings. The family group chat exploded again, but this time with a different tone. Relatives who had dismissed my claims were suddenly silent as the evidence became public record. The local newspaper published a story about the prominent family's fall from grace. All their years of maintaining perfect appearances ended in a single day. My phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. "You did the right thing. Your grandfather would be proud." She was right. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about justice. As I watched my family's carefully constructed lies unravel, I felt no joy, only relief. The truth was finally out, and I was finally free. 1 year later, I sat in my new home in Denver, watching snow fall outside my window. The court case had concluded months ago. My father and mother both accepted plea deals, agreeing to pay restitution. Anna's yoga empire had collapsed, and she had finally obtained a real job as a receptionist. The perfect family image they had worked so hard to maintain was gone forever. Most of the relatives who had enabled their behavior for years stopped speaking to me, but surprisingly, I found I didn't miss them. Instead, I had built a new support system, genuine friends who valued honesty over appearances, colleagues who respected my work ethic, and even a few distant cousins who reached out to apologize for their past behavior. Rachel came to visit me last week. Over coffee, She handed me an old photo album she had found while cleaning out her office. Inside were pictures of my grandfather and me, moments I had almost forgotten. In one photo, he was teaching me to fish, both of us laughing at something long forgotten. He always said you were the strong one, Rachel told me. He knew they favored Anna, but he believed you would overcome it. I touched the photo gently, remembering his kind smile. He had tried to protect my future through that inheritance, and though it had taken years, his final gift had ultimately given me something more valuable than money, the courage to stand up for myself and the freedom to build a life on my own terms. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about getting free.